Well, I think it needed comedy because the story itself is so sad that you need some relief from it. Otherwise, it's just a sort of this rather depressing, tragic story. And the humour, it was important to sort of to lighten the mood and sugar the pill. But it was also very important that we didn't go overboard with it. And I personally was worried about, because my background's in comedy, that I didn't overdo it. And I said to Stephen, look, keep an eye on me. And if I mug too much or my face becomes too animated, just tell me to turn it down. And most of Stephen's direction to me was shouting across the room. He'd shout, Steve, and I'd say, yes, and he'd just do this with his hand. Take it down. So that kept in check. But it was an important balance to strike. You couldn't make it. You couldn't let the comedy trivialize it. It just had to give some levity to quite heavy things. Although it criticizes the institution, the way the church as an institution behaved, it actually, I think, dignifies people who have simple faith, and in the shape of Philomena. So it's not a polemic, an attack, which would have been too simplistic, and in these modern times, quite an easy thing to do. So that was important that we didn't do that, that we took a more holistic approach to it. And also that in all the things that have happened in the church, some of the people who are overlooked are those people who have this simple faith, who are forgotten, as it were. So we wanted to dignify those people through Philomena. I met Martin before we sat down, Jeff and I, to write the screenplay, because his book, on which we was based the screenplay, is largely about the life of Anthony, who went on to become known as Michael Hess. And I certainly wanted to tell a story about him and his relationship with Philomena, and make it about a sort of middle-aged, well-educated cynic and a working-class Irish woman who had a lifetime of experience and was far less cynical. And Martin sat down and was quite open about the fact that we wanted to take it in a slightly different direction from his book, and was very, very helpful. And Jeff and I conducted quite a few interviews with him, and we asked him questions about his life, how he felt about being fired by the government, which we then worked into the story to put him in a low place before he met Philomena. And there's always a kernel of truth in these things, but we sometimes turned up the volume on those truths to make it more dramatic. But Martin understood that because he himself is creative. So he was very helpful and supportive. When I asked her if she forgave the nuns for what they did, her daughter, Jane, said, I don't. And I thought it was important to reflect that point of view as well, because that's what Martin's character, we gave that line to Martin, is what I say as Martin, afterwards to recognise the sort of the anger, and not say, well, everything's all right now, and it's all wrapped up with a bow. So that it was important to voice, both those reactions: the human reaction, the real human reaction, and the sort of the slightly more dignified response.